Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we give you two or three interesting tech stories in about 15 to 20 minutes and send you on your way with a fun library fact. Creation Station at broward.org comes right to us if you have any interesting stories you'd like to see featured on the show. Today, I have Garfield from Riverland Library today. You said, Garfield.
Yes, sir. Welcome aboard. Thank you for inviting me, sir.
Oh, anytime. Garfield's one of those great people in the background of the library system, as we try and highlight around here. He has been, how many years have you been doing this, Garfield? It's been a while.
Well, the floating has been since 2018. This what, 4 years? The process started about 2018. I'm a library specialist, senior. It's been fun going from place to place, learning new ideas.
Just a little time, folks out there, as he just casually mentions, he's been driving from library to library, working different branches for 6 years.
Right.
You've been doing a great job out there. It's so much fun. I had to ask him when he logged on today, which library was he even at today? Because there's just so many different ones I've seen Garfield at. It's a very good thing.
Thank you, sir.
And so you casually said library specialist. Tell people, what do you actually do when you're there? Because you've got a pretty interesting little bit there of being in charge.
Well, as a library specialist, senior, I'm a generalist. Most of the times I'm working circulation as well as references. There's sometimes I want to go to a certain location where they're short of in terms of a specialist. I'm there in those circulation. There are certain times where they're short staff in references. I'm there working in references. So both wherever I go, I work in both references as well as actually information services. That's a key word, and circulation. Checking out cars, you need to find books. I mean, just about any information.
He does everything, folks.
Right,
Garfield's one of those people. He does everything for the library system. It's a great thing. Let's get into some of these stories. We always have interesting stories. These are 3 stories today that are kind of like separate, different looks at how technology is interacting with all of us. And the first one here is huge. It is just unbelievable. This is the first time ever we've got augmented reality contact lenses that are working and on a person. So what this is, do you remember Google Glass, Garfield? From back in like 2014?
I've never used one.
But you saw those things like that. Well, so this here is an actual contact lens you put in, and up until this point of our development, they've never been able to do this without having external wires to another device or batteries or whatever. This is a fully functional battery operated contact lens that somebody was wearing in the test mode and being able to go in and do this sort of stuff. It is insane that they actually pulled this off. I mean, it is the pixel count and all the other things are super great things. It's got little mini batteries built into it that'll make it work. It's got the whole accelerometers, gyroscopes, everything in it that will enable you to track and do things as you move your head around. Whatever you look at, it'll know what you're looking at. It could detect if you fell down. It will know all of these things for you. Would you be putting one of these in your eyes, Garfield?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say no, but what I would want it to use for is what use would it be? I mean, because if I have a vision issue and it can help, yes.
Yeah.
If I need to shorten my vision, I help with my current vision, yes, I give it a try.
And now, would you rather use this than your phone? For example, would you rather use this than looking at your phone? Instead of having to look down at that screen and follow directions, just to have a little arrow in the corner of your eye that you're walking down the street and it just gives you a little arrow to tell you where you're going and what to do, or get a notification from that phone call and be able to answer it without ever having to pull a phone out of your pocket, without having to do anything.
In other words, you're saying our current it's a challenging, but I think it seems very challenging, 'cause technically what it would is outdate our current mode of communication, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
And
I give it a try and see what happens.
yeah. I
Learn
mean,
as we go.
there's those snap glasses that, you can wear those glasses and it can record things and do everything. And instead of having a big bulky set of glasses, now they're going to shrink it down just to this. I've been talking about Google tried one of these. They couldn't get it through FDA approval. And also partially they couldn't find a way to make money on it, which is a key issue. So we're going to see how these people pull that off. I'm not so positive I want to put in a pair of contact lenses and then have ads showing in front of my face like that as I'm walking down the street.
Wow, would be something very interesting, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And another thing for the future, we're all talking about, green energy and renewables and solar and wind and everything. And one of the big issues that people claim, and it's not really that big of an issue, is what happens when the sun goes down, for example, or the wind's not blowing. Well, all of this gets stored in batteries anyway, just like you would store in your electric car has a battery in it, or at your house if you have electric backup, if you have a battery backup for your house. That's some of the things that happen nowadays, especially with solar power. They built a sand battery. And I know this sounds crazy. And this is not a little thing that you carry around in your pocket. This is a big, massive warehouse you can see here in the picture. And as always, the links are going to be in the show notes for you. But this is the first one that they built that was a working example of take a huge warehouse, fill it up with sand. And that's the great thing. This isn't like fancy super sand or anything like this. This is regular old generic beach low grade sand you can pull from anywhere, drop it in this building, and it absorbs heat. So you've walked on the beach, Garfield, we're down here in South Florida. You walk on the beach, you feel that heat that's in the sand where it stores that. What they have figured out is a way of extracting that heat back out of the sand. So they use their solar and or wind power to generate heat, store it in the sand, and then later on in the day, draw that heat back out of the sand to power things again. 500 degrees Celsius. It's more than hot enough to heat homes in the middle of the winter in Finland.
So do we have any like power loss when, for example, during the storage process?
That's one of the things that they talk about in the article here. You're right, because you lose some heat as you store it in the sand, and then you lose some more heat when it comes out of the sand. And one way to fix that is to have it boil water instead, which then you can use the hot sand to boil water, and then you have a slight loss in steam, but you're able to power things like steam turbines and all that other stuff. So yeah, that's a very good point. You're going to lose some of it, but you're going to keep so much more. And again, these are going to be built just like we build our current modern power plants, where you're just going to build them in an area and just absorb all this heat coming in and then redistributing it out again in those areas. It's only 100 tons of sand. So you can build these things just about everywhere. No lithium mining, no problems with the environment. They might have solved it.
But I mean, that would be a good idea. You know what I mean?
If in this, it's a working concept, and they've made it actually power homes in Finland right now, so they can actually make that work. And now they're trying to figure out the length of time that it stores that heat. They believe it'll last for several months, but they need to do their testing and verifying that. And then as they start to build more of these around the country to build out this system, we're moving into a much more ecologically friendly way of doing this electricity and still maintaining the lifestyle we all want with our computers and phones and everything else. And you'll be able to still charge it right there.
In other words, we have more options.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Have you done any kind of solar work or any kind of that kind of stuff around your house? Have you looked at any of those options?
But I mean, what I would do in terms of personally doing it myself, no. In terms of like of a company that I can buy the electricity from, yes. Because I mean, if I do it at my house, the space, the knowledge
Yep.
and all that good stuff need to keep this thing active. I may not have that knowledge, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I went out and bought a small little solar panel for hurricanes just
Ah,
to throw out in the backyard after the storm's passed. And you throw out this little thing and and it sucks up the sun and generates enough electricity to recharge your phones and stuff. It's not big enough to do refrigerators or anything, but it's enough to, keep your minor electronics up and running and working. So it's pretty good.
correct.
So yeah, keep an eye out for those things, especially it's hurricane season, people. You need to be prepared for that. And
Oh, yes, we have to prepare all the time, man.
got to be prepared. And being prepared, speaking of, here's no one would have expected we're going to put a tech story about smoke detectors. But when's the last time you changed your smoke detector? We're not talking about changing the battery. We're not even talking about testing. Because if you tested your smoke alarms recently, which I hope you did, I always, in several times in my different classes, I've talked about it. July 4th, you're going to be off. It's a great day to go around and check those things to verify whether things are working or not. And when daylight savings time comes, it's a good day to change your batteries in your smoke detector because everybody remembers that day. Everybody knows how to do it. But it turns out if you test your smoke detector, if it's got a battery in it and you press that tester, it's going to emit saying, yes, your battery's working. It doesn't mean that the electrodes inside that detect smoke are working. Is that a scary thought?
Electrodes.
So there's little chemicals on some electrodes that are inside of your smoke detector. And when those chemicals detect smoke particles and various things, that's when they go off, or heat. That's when your smoke detector goes off. That's why we all have that thing going off when somebody burns something in the kitchen. It's that smoke that gets up in there, and that's what causes your smoke detector to go off.
Gotcha, gotcha.
If your smoke detector has not gone off recently when you've been burning things in the kitchen, it might be that your smoke detector doesn't work anymore. And they are only certified for 10 years. So if it's been more than 10 years that you replaced the entire smoke detector, took it off the ceiling, bought a new one and put it on there, your smoke detector's probably not working in your house. And so this article is talking about what should you be looking for when you're going out there and buying a new model? What are you doing? You want to make sure you're certified, obviously. You want to look for dual sensors that can tell, and the new ones can tell the difference in between a real fire and just that cooking smoke from somebody burning the dinner on the stovetop. One of the ones that I thought was most interesting was a non-removable battery. And what happens is it's a battery that is hardwired into the smoke detector. The battery itself will last about 10 years, which is the same length of time that your smoke detector will last. So when the battery goes bad and it lets you know, you just have to replace the entire thing rather than replacing that 9-volt battery twice a year, every year for 10 years. How many smoke detectors do you have in your house, Garfield?
I think I see maybe one or two in the house, but I never really check them.
Yeah. I hope everybody who listens to this goes out there and checks your smoke detectors now. Now, there's another, the article also talks about carbon monoxide as being one that you should be looking for a smoke detector that does that. I'm not saying not to, but that's not a thing in Florida. Carbon monoxide is something that builds up in the ground and comes up through your basement. And if you have a basement here in South Florida, you've got a very unusual house. There are smart ones that can connect to your internet and can send you an alert on your phone if you want to, or things like that. I've had those in the past and disabled them because I didn't like getting the notifications about things like that or privacy settings. I don't have any of those anymore, but it's something to pay attention to. I saw this article and I was like, yeah, this is what we do. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, yeah, we've got a lot of people that should be paying attention to this kind of stuff and make sure you're checking your smoke detectors. It's a basic piece of tech that we all have in our house.
It's it can save a lot of lives, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. I mean, I had a fire in one home many years ago, and the smoke detectors did go off, and we woke up and were able to put out the fire before it got out of hand. It was just a small thing in the I want to say it was the kitchen trash that actually caught on fire, but when I got there, it was like the countertop was getting scorched.
Oh,
Yeah, it was bad enough that we called fire department on after I put it out because you got to have everyone has a fire extinguisher in their kitchen or somewhere in your house also. One piece of gear you have to have in your house. Have a small fire extinguisher and please put smoke detectors in.
wow, wow.
Mind blowing, isn't it? You don't think about these things. I was going through my tech feeds and I'm like, huh, smoke detectors. Oh, it's an ad. And I was like, oh no, it's not. Huh. Wow. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be because if you pull down your smoke detector, it should have a date stamped on it that tells you when it was good, when it was certified for, and if that date it will either have an expiration date, in which case you'll know whether it's bad or not, or if it's got a manufactured date. If that manufactured date is more than 10 years ago, you need to replace it.
Wow, wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot of new information I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
That's
That's
a
what we
lot of
try
new
and do on this
information I
show.
didn't
Yeah.
know.
We find fun things here. And speaking of fun things, I want to point out that, it is summer learning here for the library. We've been talking about this all summer long. I'm going to keep talking about it because we do some really cool things with the library summer programs. You're out at Riverland, Garfield. You guys had an amazing display out there that I showed off in a picture of like 2 weeks ago when we did one of our things. And we just did another Facebook Live just before I jumped into this show. We had just wrapped up the previous one, and we're Kimberly White, the head of youth services for the library system. And I worked with a couple of other librarians to show off some of the fun prizes that you can win over the summer learning here. I'm going to put a link into the show notes for it, but I'm going to make you guys go find this and watch it because there's some darn cool prizes. We're giving away an inflatable couch. We're giving away lots of tickets to things. And we only talked about the first half of the prizes. There's still more prizes at the end of summer. This is just the July stuff. So you got to participate. I know you've got people out there doing it, right, Garfield?
Say that again?
You got a lot of adults and kids out there doing the summer learning program, don't you?
Correct.
That is an awesome, awesome thing. Thank you so much for being here. This is a really fast, easy one today because of you.
Before we go,
Tell me, yeah. Fill me
the
in.
one about the what do you call it? The sand, storing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
energy in the
Yep,
sand, which is the battery.
yeah.
Is any of that in Florida right now?
No, not yet. This is a working project in Finland that they are doing as a demo to prove that it actually works. The science is all there, and the science all does work. And now they're just putting it to work in real life and showing people that yes, this does actually work as a low cost energy battery to be able to make it happen.
Wow, wow.
But yeah, you're right. Florida, we got a ton of sand. Makes
I
sense
mean,
for
with
us,
the
doesn't
heat
it?
as well, because we have the heat, we have the sunlight. Yes.
Yeah,
Um, And another
it
one
makes a lot of sense.
and the other question I have is with Google eye lenses, contact lenses.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's how the functionality, what I mean is the functionality is it has to be remote, right?
No, remote at all. It's all everything's built into that contact lens. Yeah,
So a lot of the technology, a lot of these instruments are literally micro, sort of smallest.
exactly. Super small batteries. They've got
Okay.
3 super small batteries in there. They've got all the accelerometer and everything that's all built into this. Yeah. This is the first time that they've been able to get it where in the past they had a contact lens that you could look through, but it had to be attached to a computer. Now they've got it where it's all by itself. No external wires, no nothing.
Gotcha. But you said something about governmental approval, and you said something about the FDA.
Yeah, because any of these kinds of things have to go through the FDA because it's a medical device. So you have to go get it
Oh,
approved
that's what I was going to
first.
ask.
Yeah.
Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we're years from you or I being able to buy this, but they're getting close. Now, they're probably anywhere from 5 to 10 years out. And people will be wearing these on the street.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the future is here.
Crazy.
It's definitely here. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
again,
It's
Bob.
going to be happening. Okay, let me throw up our final slide here for everybody. I do want to make sure if you've got a favorite librarian or library you want to see featured on the show, let me know. creationstation@broward.org comes right to us. We'll see everybody next week. Have a great day.
You too, sir. Thank you.